Welcome back again, everybody. Welcome to From the NoseBleeds. As always, I'm your host, Dan Carcamo. And with me again, we have Pat Ragazzo from USA Today Sports and fanside.com. Say hi, Pat.
How's it going, Dan? Thanks for having me back on from the 3P.
The 3P, there you go. And from thenayo.com, my man, Funny Master, Evan right here.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You guys both know them. You both love them. You know, check out their websites and stuff like that. Evan, like I said, does skits. He's very funny. Catch him doing all this crazy stuff. And then Pat, my sports guru and insider. Whenever I need something, I go to Pat. So definitely check out his writing. He's a very good writer and a very passionate sports fan like myself. So, guys, you know, we've had 2 episodes. We've done basketball, we've done football. Now we're gonna do some baseball. You know, it is past the first month of the season. Both the Mets and Yankees have done okay in some areas, failed in some areas, but that's what we're here to talk about. You know, obviously, you know, coming into the season, the Yankees, it was basically World Series or bust with the team they have, and the talent that they have acquired and everything like that. And they're just, only 4 games over 500. However, they caught the injury bug. Every person they have is basically from their AAA team. So how scary is that? And we'll go to you, Pat, first. Of that, they're staying afloat right now, but they have none of their players.
Well, the Yankees certainly have been hit with the injury bug. Most recently, too, they just lost James Paxton, who was their number 2 starter, who they just acquired from the Mariners this offseason when they signed him to come in and fill that role. But the Yankees have done pretty well for being decimated by injuries. They're 20-14. They've won 3 out of 4 games now, coming off their West Coast road trip when they lost the series to the Diamondbacks to end the trip. And the Yankees have had a rather easy schedule, I'd say, to start the year, other than the Astros, who they played in the first week of April, and they also played the Red Sox, who have done very poorly this year, coming off the World Series championship. But it's always still a tough matchup, Yankees versus the Red Sox. But besides that, they've kind of beaten up on some easier teams. Despite that, they have gotten a lot of surprise production out of these replacements in Gio Urshela, who's playing mostly third base for the Yankees now. He collected 2 more hits last night in a win over the Mariners to raise his average to 352. They've gotten a lot out of DJ LeMahieu, who came over, all-star infielder who came over from the Colorado Rockies. Right. And they've also gotten equal production to Luke Voit and the boost he gave them down the stretch. So I think right now they're starting to get some more players back. Miguel Andujar just came back. He only missed about 3 to 4 weeks he had a slight labral tear in his shoulder, and they didn't know if he'd be back this year.
Right.
Healed up nice, and he responded well, and he's back, so that's certainly a boost. And they have Aaron Judge now, no timetable for his return, and Stanton apparently is about to start taking batting practice. So you don't know how long he's going to be out for. So.
Absolutely. So, Evan, what do you have to say about that? I mean, these are some big names, Stanton, Judge, Andujar, you have all these Paxton who just went down. These are all people they expected to be there, in the lineup, on the mound every day, and they're not. What do you think of that?
It's really unfortunate for them to be stuck with so many, like, the injury bug so hard. Like, this is the type of thing that you see happen a lot more in, like, the NFL than in baseball, just because of the nature of the sport. We'll see what happens. The Yankees are doing way better for how you would expect them to do on their backup roster. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we'll see. It's still a long way before the World Series. We have all summer. Summer hasn't even started yet. It's still early May. Right. Hopefully we have some of the stars come back. Aaron Judge. There's no timetable, but like maybe he can be back before the end of the season. Who knows? So hopefully they pull through. That's all I can say.
But it's kind of scary to think about that, they are without all these major bats and key players such as Judge and Stanton, the heart of that lineup, and they're still winning games, like you said, they're above 500 at 20-14, they're doing pretty well, they're, slightly above water right now, but the fact that, these guys aren't in there and they're still winning games, it almost seems like it's better that they're doing it now instead of getting an injury bug, in late August or September when the playoffs are around the corner. Maybe it's a blessing that they just, I'm saying that these guys are hurt are blessings, but like better now than at the tail end of the season where it really counts. You can still make up games right now, and clearly they are. So obviously it's cool to see these young guys get a chance, but like obviously it's super scary. Especially with Boston struggling, that must be a super relief for them as well.
Exactly. That's the Yankees have gotten boost from surprise great performance so far this season from Domingo Germán, who now lowered his ERA in the twos and has an incredible WHIP of below 1 right now, and he's done great for them. And unfortunately, they actually let Gio Gonzalez go last week. He was in their minor leagues and they didn't promote him, and then James Paxton's knee flared up, and a couple of days later, and he just landed on the IL. So they could definitely use some more starting pitching depth, and that's something they could possibly look for at the trade deadline if they continue up this success that they've had so far. And it's definitely a good sign that they're going to be getting their reinforcements back, sooner rather than later. And the team's performing right now with the replacements. Basically, the replacements have become irreplaceable right now for the Yanks, and things are looking good. They're actually supposed to get Clint Frazier back either today or tomorrow too from the IL, as Brian Cashman had said.
There you go. Now, from moving from the Bronx to the Queens, we have our Metsies, Pat. A lot of issues, but obviously, still the glaring issue is Mickey Callaway's and his inability, and yes, I mean inability, to handle that bullpen. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just the same story as last year. Mickey Callaway hasn't learned from his mistakes on how to manage the bullpen. The Mets played in an 18-inning game on Saturday night against the Brewers, and he used his closer, Edwin Diaz, in a tie game instead of saving him. Wound up having to have Chris Flexen on in the 18th inning to try and save the Mets game for them when they were up 3-2, and Flexen wound up giving up a walk-off 2-run hit to Ryan Braun, and completely unraveled.
Who
and
Pete Alonso could have had, though, to be fair. I mean, it was a hard hit ball, but he definitely, obviously not known for his glove, but getting better. But, he had to play. He could have had to play to prevent that game winner.
I mean, it was a tough play. It was a shot through the hole. So, I mean, Flexen came in. And Flexen shouldn't even be in that situation at all. Callaway handled the bullpen the way he should be, and he's not learning, and his seat's going to start heating up because now the they've lost 4 straight and they dropped 3 below 500, and you saw last year they had a good April and then completely fell apart in May and June, and that was their season. So it doesn't even seem like Callaway ignites a fire in these guys like Terry Collins used to do. So everything's even keel, and we got to get going.
Everybody love everybody.
Yeah, he needs to light a fire under these guys' asses, and it's the fans have already lost their patience, and the season's about to be lost forever if they don't turn things around. Ironically, the starting pitching was the biggest problem in the beginning of the season. The offense was averaging over 5 runs a game, and the pitching ERA was above a 5, and now the pitchers have pitched to a 2.5 ERA over the last couple weeks or so, and the offense is nowhere to be found now, averaging about 2 runs a game and not getting the job done. They got shut out again last night by the Padres.
I mean, it's a problem when Nolan Syndergaard has to throw a complete game, shut up, and score his only run himself on a home run. Like, talk about doing it all himself. Literally put the team on his back that day. What about your thoughts, Evan, on all the Mets struggles right now?
I mean, I feel like I'm a bad luck charm for the Mets because, I remember this is
You went to every game? Yeah, yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't go to every game, but, when I went to games, they would always lose. Every game I went to of the Mets, they lost. Even, from when I was, a kid, because, I lived on the Long Island Railroad line that went to the Mets, so we went there all the time, and they always ended up losing.
Maybe you should become a Yankee fan. Bring that luck to them.
Well, to be honest, I've always been a Yankee fan.
Oh, see, that's why you're a Yankee fan going to Mets games. No wonder we're having bad luck.
Oh, yeah,
No, I mean, I have nothing against the Mets. I'm always a New York team, I'm always a New York fan. Any New York team, I'm going to be a fan of you. Unless, obviously, the two of them are playing, in which case I got to pick a side. So the Mets, I mean, I remember, 4 years ago, 2015, right, when they made it to the World Series. That was surprising and exciting. They haven't lived up to that level in a while. So, I mean, they're not doing well, but I honestly can't say I'm surprised, unfortunately.
That's fair. But, just a tough on a bright spot, although I still don't agree with the move. Pat, I want to get your take on it. Pete Alonso, obviously, just won Rookie of the Month. You know, killing the game so far. He's become everyone's instant favorite player. But obviously, seeing where things are now, everyone was like, it was the right decision to bring him up. Look at how many games he won. And I'm just like, yeah, look how many games we won. And now we're in May, and like, look how many games we won compared to how many he lost. You know, obviously we're down 500. Do you believe it was still the right move to bring him up at the beginning of the season compared to the 11 games where he had to sit out so we can control him next year? I still don't think that was the right decision. He honestly, in those first 11 games, he won us. I would say, you know, obviously one game because of the game-winning walk-off double he had. And realistically, I don't think it was a great choice. I still think, you know, when it comes to these players now, and especially these young guys, control is everything. You know, especially for a whole year where you don't have to pay him these big bucks, and you know he's still young. You know, what are your thoughts on that about him bringing up in the first day, in the opening day roster?
I have to disagree with you there. This team's in win now mode, as they told us this offseason. I mean, they didn't finish the job. Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrel are still out on the market,
right.
And you know, they kind of just sold us that this was going to be a different year. This was going to be a very good team. They were going to be competing, and now things are starting to derail already. Alonso, you had to have brought him up. Imagine if he wasn't up in the first 11 games, what the record would be right now. They're 4 under 500. They'd probably be about 10 under 500 if he wasn't up to start the season. He was raking in the whole month of April, and now the last week and a half or so, he's been in a pretty bad slump. His average is down to 270, and he's kind of swinging at everything, you know. But this is just the adjustment period for any rookie, and it's up to him to make those adjustments, you know, and get back on track. And it's up to his coaching staff to work with him on that. I mean, everyone was praising Chili Davis, the newest Mets hitting coach, this start this year, because everyone came out of the gates hot with the hot bats, and they were praising Davis's work and methods. And now where is he? I mean, they're struggling now. Everyone's looking at him to blame, but you know, the hitters are all just in a major slump. Wilson Ramos has a 592 OPS, which is not very good. His slugging percentage is very low. Every ball on the ground, striking out a lot. Nimmo's looked lost the whole year. Cano hasn't gotten it going. Alonso's in a slump now. The only guy who's hitting is Jeff McNeil, who's definitely the Mets' best hitter right now. But Conforto's disappeared. You know, it's really not looking good right now, and hopefully they can turn things around sooner rather than later before they continue to fall. And as for Callaway, I mean, he's just continuing to not learn from his mistakes, and his seat's going to be on fire by the end of this month if this keeps up.
Well, you brought it up, and you mentioned two names that I did want to bring up. That is, you know, Dallas Keuchel and Craig Kimbrel, who are still free agents. And then they even said, mostly because they assumed the Mets would be on it, that Dallas Keuchel is interested in at least in a one-year deal. You know, and that was a big thing for them. You know, it's a little bit of an aging pitcher, and the Mets kind of didn't want to give it to him, but you know, now he's willing to go for a one-year deal. If you were to choose one, who do you want? And this question will go to both of you. Pat first.
Honestly, I think either one could help boost this team tremendously. The rotation's definitely picked it up recently, but now Vargas goes on the DL with a hamstring injury, even though he's been pitching better. Matz is injured right now and going to miss his next start.
But what else is new with Matz? Like that's not even news at this point.
It's just disappointing because Matz has been their best pitcher this year and their most consistent pitcher besides his one rough start in Philadelphia. And now he's on the injured list, and they don't think it's going to be serious that they dodged the bullet, but I mean, only time will tell. So Keuchel would without a doubt boost this rotation, but they need a bat right now badly. Hopefully Jed Lowry comes back from his rehab assignment soon and comes back hot. I mean, chances are it's going to take him a little while to get going because he's missed so much time with a knee injury, and I mean the bullpen's kind of been a mess. It's been mainly misused, but the bullpen's been a mess with them signing Jarius Familia, who's now on the IL, and him, you know, really struggling this year. So they could definitely use Kimbrel. They could use both players, and if they were really truly serious about winning now, they'd bring in at least one of those players. And they should have brought in Gio Gonzalez last week when he was let go by the Yankees. Instead, letting him walk to one of their fellow competitors in their own league, in the Brewers, who they could be competing for a playoff spot at some point. Absolutely. So for that, I think that they're just, you know, kind of blowing smoke in our ears.
No hold back. There you go, Pat. That's what I like to hear. We're giving the real opinions. All right, Evan, who do you think? Obviously, Dallas Keuchel, a starting pitcher, and Craig Kimbrel, who was a closer, former closer, and winning closer. If you were the Mets, who would you sign if you had to choose one? And only one, if you could only choose one.
I think... I mean, I think I kind of agree with him. It could be, honestly, either would really help. I mean, they need a solid pitcher, and with their injuries, they're gonna need either one. I personally think a closer is. I don't know if it's more important. It's good not to get any runs in the last like at the end, right? Because it's the hardest to come back from that. When they get a run in like the 8th inning or the 9th inning, it's like crap. You know what I mean? Now I'm like under a lot of pressure to get a run now. Whereas if it's earlier in the game, you have enough time to make up for your.
So going either. I think we're all in agreement that either will do us any beneficial work because we just have so many holes, and that we're starting to catch up with the Yankees a little bit in the injury bug. We've had here and there, but now we're like starting to lose some major keys. Like you said, Jerry's is going down, so obviously that leaves a setup man that we definitely need. Jed Lowry's about to come back, but at that point, who we're gonna send down and who we're gonna option, that's all additions. And then Keuchel will definitely bolster the rotation. I was never a fan of Vargas. I think he's, although he's been proving me a little bit wrong this year, he's had some good outings. I definitely don't think that he still, can hold that up for the whole year. So I would definitely lean more to Keuchel just because, starting pitching is irreplaceable for the most part. I do agree that, in later innings it's very important, but if you're down 8-0 at the beginning, when Mets did that, for the most part, that's an uphill battle, and that's already a struggle for the pitchers, and that's already bullpen gone for the next day. Long distances, Keuchel, I definitely think would be the more beneficial player, at least for right now. I could be wrong. You still got Diaz, who's having his own problems, but hopefully he'll correct that and stuff like that. But our starting pitching has gone in waves. Obviously not doing great and then doing well, and so hopefully we'll get that good medium that we talk about. But for our last topics, for both teams, who do you think are off-season? We talked about off-season moves last time with you and me, Pat. Obviously the Yankees doing some good moves, and obviously the Mets adding some pieces as well. So far, who is your off-season MVP that they added? So, from Paxton to LeMahieu to any of those guys, Tulowitzki, from Ramos to Wilson. Obviously Wilson hasn't done much, but Cano, Diaz, for both teams. Who is your MVP for both teams from the additions they had this offseason?
Wait, Wilson, you're not talking about Russell Wilson when they added
no, picked, Ramos Wilson from different sport.
Wilson Ramos.
Wilson Ramos, sorry.
So I'd say to start the year in the month of April, Wilson Ramos was doing great and hitting great with runners in scoring position, but he hasn't had any power. He's been hitting the ball on the ground a lot and striking out a lot. And Cano hasn't gotten it going, but I think my MVP so far for the Mets has to be Edwin Diaz from this offseason's edition. I wouldn't call it struggles the last couple outings in the last week or two or so. He's given up a couple big home runs late, but those are just two minor hiccups. Other than that, he's been lights out. And he's showing why he had 57 saves last year and was one of the most dominant young closers in the game. As for the Yankees, I definitely have to say it's DJ LeMahieu, who's been the offseason MVP for them so far. If they didn't have him, their infield, they'd be in trouble, because with Tulowitzki going down and Andujar going down and Greg Bird getting injured too and struggling before that, they'd only have Gleyber Torres. So LeMahieu's kind of been a Swiss Army knife for them.
And everyone left at that move, and I remember when we were both talking, I was like, this is gonna be a surprise move. The guy can hit, he can feel. He was a Gold Glover, he's an All-Star, and everyone's like, DJ LeMahieu. I was like, watch, he's gonna be a person to watch out for. And I'm just glad. I want all those Yankee fans to be like, you're wrong. I was like, no, literally, he's saving your life right now, and he's consistent as can be right now. But what about you, Evan?
I agree. I think that Mayhew definitely holding the team. So wasn't Russell Wilson signed by the Yankees though in the offseason last year, and he hasn't done shit?
Are you thinking about the quarterback, Russell Wilson?
Yeah, he was signed by the Yankees.
He's in their system technically. Because he got drafted by the Texas Rangers. He got drafted out of college.
But he never.
I think that's hilarious. I personally think that's hilarious.
It's not a real thing. He shows up to spring training once a year.
But he doesn't do anything.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think that, the Yankees are definitely doing better than the Mets. In terms of, who off-season, I don't know. It's hard to, I don't know. I think that both have a lot of, the Yankees are above water now. They both have a lot more they have a lot of room to make up for. You know, definitely more than Mets and the Yankees. But yeah, so
no one's proving yourself. You have to wait till the next month to give an MVP out.
I mean, it's hard. Yeah, it is early in the season too. It's only
That's
May.
fair. That is fair. But I agree.
Much better job than Mickey Callaway this year, that's for sure.
Absolutely. But I do agree. LeMahieu, you know, has pretty much, you know, they brought him in for this exact reason. You know, he's a tough player, you know, a good contact hitter and a good fielder. So I definitely give him. I think it's between him and Paxton. Paxton is proving me wrong. I thought Paxton would be, you know, I'll be like, all right, that's it. He's in the pinstripes. Pressure's really on, you know. But he's proven to do decently well so far before he obviously got injured. But I still give it to LeMahieu because he's out there every day and he hasn't gotten hurt yet. And as for the Mets, I do agree with you as well. Diaz, you know, just solidifying that ninth inning pretty much. You know, going in, if we have a lead, kind of having a little bit of a sigh of relief where you're like, all right, we for the most part, we kind of know that, you know, 9 times out of 10 we have a shot, or at least 8 times out of 10 where he's going to lock it down and stuff like that. So I definitely agree with you, Pat, where both LeMahieu and Diaz have been the MVPs for the offseason moves that both teams have made. But like you said, it's still early in May, guys. You know, obviously a lot of baseball to be played still. You know, seasons are on the line, close enough right now for the Mets, but you know, hopefully they can, you know, turn the ship. Mickey Callaway or someone has to learn something from their past mistakes, and you know, obviously our pitching and our hitting needs to turn around and stay consistent, because you know, inconsistency is going to kill us for the most part. And then the Yankees obviously getting all their big bats back and being a force to be reckoned with already, and they're just, you know, having a AAA team for the most part. Any final thoughts, guys?
Go Yankees.
Go Yankees.
That's better. Turn it around fast. Otherwise, it's going to be a repeat of last year, and Mickey Callaway is going to be looking for a job. And maybe at this point, you know, the way things have been looking, that's probably the best option for the Mets. You know, Joe Girardi's out there right now, and he'd be a much better option over Callaway, who clearly doesn't learn from his mistakes. You know, and I know it's not all him. I know some of it's the front office making these decisions, but I mean, it's just not. It's not a good look. You know, the guys, they need to fire a guy like Terry. You know, Terry Collins was like perfect for this team, and I mean, Callaway really hasn't been able to inspire these guys because they look dead in the water right now. You know, and time's running out. You know, it's early still, but time's running out on this team. So,
I mean, hey, it doesn't work for them, but on From the NoseBleeds, ELE, everybody love everybody. Thank you again, guys. Of course, this is always Evan and Pat from USA Today Sports and Fansided.com talking about Giants and Mets stuff. I'm your host, Dan Carcamo. Thank you again. Catch you guys out next time. Peace.